Lies have expiration dates. Not all lies, some should be carried to the grave. But some of our lies, the ones that were just used to protect, the ones that were used to defend ourselves, eventually over time, a lot of those we don't need to hold on to anymore. We can set them free, and when we do, quite often there are epic stories hiding behind them. I told the first part of this story in a Story Slam in 2016, and I'm bringing it back here to you because there is now an epilogue. When I was young, growing up in Illinois, we were kind of free-range children. My parents would send us out to play in the morning, and we had to be back before the streetlights, and we got into trouble sometimes. So one summer, it was August, and I remember it was August because my mother had just taken us shopping for new clothes for school, and we had new shoes, and we had new shirts and everything, and that was exciting. So I know it was August, and my brother and I were getting into trouble. It was August, we'd just gotten past the 4th of July, and we wanted fireworks, and they were illegal, and we didn't have any. So we did the logical thing. We took a Ziploc sandwich bag and went into the garage and filled it with anything that said flammable. Our scientific knowledge was not up to par. We didn't know how to make an explosion. We thought we did. We took it and we hung it so it was coming down like a diamond off the edge of our swing set. And we stood back from a distance with a lighter and we lit that little tip on fire, expecting it to go boom. And it didn't. The plastic was just burning. And then some of the liquid came out. And made a little ring of fire down on the ground, kind of like napalm. But the rest of the liquid was still in there, because science. And it kept up burning a little bit more, and then a larger fireball. And it burned some more, and a larger fireball. Until finally this enormous, and there was fire everywhere, and it was epic. We said, we got to do that again, but bigger. But we were smart enough to realize that there was grass around the swing set. There'd been sand underneath it. We didn't want to start a fire in the backyard. So we said, let's do this on top of concrete. So there was a concrete pad right next to the house. So we went over there and set up a thing, and we got a really big quart bag, filled that full of flammable stuff, got it all set up, and we lit it, and then finally, an enormous just ball of fire burning, which we thought was so cool, until we realized that this cement pad we were on, the landscaping on the side was railroad timbers that had been soaked in creosote, which does a great job of making them not decay when they're in the soil, but it's also highly flammable. So we freaked out. And I started like tap dancing on it, using my feet to try and put it out. And it wasn't working, and I was panicking. I'm screaming. My brother's telling me to be quiet. And I'm freaking out, and he goes over and he just picks up a big piece of plywood and drops it on the fire, and it goes out completely because there's no oxygen. Science. Now, my brother looks at me and he says, oh, shit. I said, what? Dude, your shoes. And I looked down, and the problem isn't that the brand new shoes my mother had just bought were no longer white. The problem isn't that the brand new shoes my mother just bought were no longer shiny. The problem was they were no longer shoes. The rubber was just molten and kind of congealed around because they'd been in the fire, and the leather was falling off, and they were charred. He said, Mom's gonna kill you. And so I bent down and I took off the shoes and I ran for the house for safety. But as I was going, I said over my shoulder, she's gonna kill you. I couldn't find my shoes, those were yours. So once I'm safely in the house, he can't tell Mom. That would be bad. He told her that he lost his shoes. So I told this story in 2016, and my mother watched the Story Slams. And I called her. It's like, did you see the Story Slam video? She's like, I always wondered what the hell happened to those damn shoes. And we had a great laugh about it. And it was several years later. We're in Michigan. My aunt's there. My mom says, tell her about the shoes. And I told the story. And she laughs. And she says, you know what? While we're unlocking truths, Margaret, my mom's name was Margaret, she says, you know how that one section of the house growing up always smelled really bad? She said, yeah, that was weird. She said, well, there was one winter I didn't want to go to the outhouse, and nobody wanted to go to the outhouse, and your brother was unzipped and hung it out and pissed out the window, and we were all watching, and we said, you know what, we could do that too. So for the whole winter, my sisters and I, we were holding each other's arms and hanging our asses out the window to pee. And we did that for years, and we were terrified you would find out. And she laughed, and it started a chain reaction of people in my family releasing these truths. So as you get together over the holidays with your friends and families, try and decide, are there truths you can let go of, that you can unlock? There might be great stories behind them.